So we are doing a valve lash on the 2K Taggy today. It's just a 2000 Integra, that's why it's called that. But it has the B18b1 non-VTEC, so I'm gonna show you the tools you're gonna need and I guess the spec. They need to be at intake and exhaust. The intake's like 0.6 or so, or 0.00, yes, 0.006. This is pretty average, and then the exhaust is 0.007 to 0.008. I don't know the other, if you're using millimeters or not. I'm not sure on those, but as far as I'm doing, it's going to be 0.006 on the intake side and 0.008 on the exhaust side. Okay, so we have our lash tool. I cannot get it to focus here. This is 0.006 for the intake side and 0.008 for the exhaust side. And I'm using a 19 millimeter on the power steering pump to turn the motor over. So I pulled the wheel originally to get down here to the crank bolt, which you can do, but you don't have to. It's a 19 mil. It's just more difficult to do it that way rather than to put a 19 mil here and turn on that. And then you'll need a 12 mil on these and a flathead screwdriver. So I started at top dead center, and then I turned it to point these cam lobes up. Those are good. That one feels pretty good. Actually, I need to reorient these, so I will do that real quick. I guess this is the downside to doing it this way. I'm gonna have to go back to the crank method because this belt is slipping. Yeah, we're gonna have to go back to the crank and do that way. If I can find it. Alright, these cam lobes are facing up, and now we can check the lash on these. It has a nice bit of grip to it. So does that one. And then we will move on. Let's see if I can get it to turn now. There. Okay. We'll go back and check this guy here. And this guy here. Nice and snug. And then we're going to do that for the rest of all these. Time consuming, but it is what it is. So all these have been good so far. And then we get to this one here, and it's very loose. We're going to take this guy. And this guy, and then I'm gonna loosen this one up. Okay, so went through all the intake and all the exhaust, and I did them all with the lobes pointing up. That way all the tension was off of the springs, and made sure they were clearanced. Most of the intake side was tighter than .006. It was probably like more of a .004, which is acceptable for the intake side. And the exhaust side was all good except this one here. So the lash was definitely a lot better on this motor than I thought. Noise is probably because I'm running 530 instead of a thicker oil. So I think I'm going to do an oil change. I'm going to go to a thicker oil. And I also noticed that yeah, I'm not sure if that's just because the valve cover's not on it or what, but that's really close for comfort and I don't like it. But the only way to get this cover off is by taking this, all your timing belt off and your cam gears and all this. This piece isn't too bad to get off, but this, the one I don't like is the one that's a hassle. And I don't know, it looks like it's been rubbing a little bit, but nothing crazy, so it's probably gonna stay on there. And this has had a timing belt somewhat recently, so I'll probably order another belt. And then when I do the belt, I will either get a new cover or I will just take the upper section off. I like the look of the exposed cam gears, but the risk of a rock getting, you know, down in there and then going in between something and jamming up and throwing the belt off or skipping teeth is not fun. Haven't made my mind up on it yet. I wish this stuff was brittle and would just break off, which you have to be careful with that too, because if you break it off and it falls down in there and gets in something, you're gonna get yourself into trouble. So it's probably not really recommended. But yeah, it's just a quick video of valve lash. So you might get in there and you see this wiggle, and if you're new to these, don't worry about it. As long as your lash is good, you're good to go. Hey, if this video helped you out, please subscribe and like it. I appreciate it. Thank you. I think she is back together. I almost missed something. Almost. Something you always need to double check after you do anything, really. That wouldn't have been a fun noise. So always double check your bay when you're working in it. Make sure you don't forget anything, because you don't want something like this. You know? The motor is back together and running quite well. The noise has gone away, so I guess all that noise was from that one valve being just slightly loose. So that was the process I did, and it worked great. I think the process is pretty similar on the VTEC engine, but maybe slightly different. The specs are probably a little different. But yeah, I appreciate you guys watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and it helps me out a lot. Thanks, guys.